State your name if you're representing a TPA board representative. As a reminder, please press your microphone button twice to turn on and off. Steve Wilson,
Here.
Yvette Drucker,
Here.
Fran Nacklis,
Here.
Angela Cruz is absent. Rob Long, Chuck Shaw, Jim Koretsky,
Here.
Ronaldo Diaz, Joni Brinkman,
Here.
DeAndre Poole,
Present.
Greg Wise,
Here.
Marcy Woodward,
Here.
Sarah Baxter,
Here.
Joel Flores,
Here.
Glenn Spiritus,
Here.
Jeff Hamara,
Here.
Michael Napoleon,
Here.
Christy Fox,
Here.
Joseph Paduzzi,
Shalonda Warren here for Joseph Paduzzi.
Maria Marino,
Here.
Chelsea Reed.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Ruth. Before we begin, I do want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, I may as well now. So, and also to our attorney, we have Milton Collins here for his birthday as well. So we have birthday twins. We are not going to embarrass you by singing happy birthday. Maybe later. We'll see how long the meeting lasts. All right. So we do have a couple of people that are asking to participate remotely.
No, Madam Chair.
We do not. Okay, lovely. Then we'll move right along. If everyone could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. All right, Ruth, do we have any modifications to the agenda today?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, so we'll move on again to general public comments. Do we have any general public comments to start this morning?
No, Madam Chair.
Great. Let's move on to comments from our board or chair. Do we have any comments from the board before we dig in? Yes, ma'am. Mayor Marino.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize our newly elected Commissioner Bobby Powell in the audience, who's going to be one of our alternates this year, and welcome Joel Flores back to the fold.
Yay. All right, anybody else before we dig in? Mayor Koretsky.
Yes, thank you. Just quickly, I do want to, we have a couple of significant projects going on in our town, the US 1 bridge replacement, and then an I-95 interchange modification, and some improvements along a small section of Indian Town Road. And just want to say those projects have not been without their challenges, and public feedback significant, but FDOT team has been extremely professional, has worked very well with us through those times, and we're very grateful for that. One thing that I learned is they have great processes for communicating things, but they can't really get local. And what's worked for us both on 2 occasions in the last 2 months is we invited them, and they were thrilled with the invite to come to a council meeting so they could give an update that could then be, and our public could come and ask questions, be able to ask questions and whatever. So I just kind of share that. Sometimes we think that they handle those things, but it's been our learning, it's been our experience that, and they were thrilled to and jumped at the opportunity. This way, not only the council was informed, but our general public, which either attends meetings, watches them live, or can go and look at them after. So anyway, shout out of thanks and appreciation, FDOT.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Chair. 2 things. One, just to let everyone know that we did vote yesterday or Tuesday. What days? Tuesday. I'm sorry. It's been a long week to issue the RFP for the Transportation Master Plan, and we're hoping that that goes out next week. Everyone in this room, I'm sure, knows about it, and for everyone's staff who participated to get this done, thank you so much. It was quite the big haul and a group effort. I'm very excited about it moving forward, and also that I do have. It's just a good reminder for everyone. I have a meeting the end of this week with FDOT, City of Delray Beach and our own county engineering, because the plans that they're trying to do with Atlantic Avenue, it's just a reminder for everyone that Atlantic Avenue, it's a road in a city that belongs to the state, and the county does the traffic lights. So a lot of what we do here, it has to be very collaborative, and I'm looking forward to that meeting on Friday. So thank you.
I had a hang of it. There we go. All right, we'll move along. We have Commissioner Weiss, please. Oh, lovely. All right, thank you so much. We have Commissioner Spiritus, please.
Yes, I would just like to thank Valerie and the staff for meeting with the City of Riviera Beach staff. It was very beneficial, and hopefully this is the beginning of a relationship between the two. And thank you once again. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we love it. All right, thank you so much. Mayor Hamara.
Good morning. Thank you. Kind of following up on what Mayor Koretsky just talked about, and that is taking advantage of an opportunity to invite transportation-related folks to council meeting. We invited our new executive director, Palm Tran, to come and talk to us about our voucher program that we have going on right now, Bus Link. And the best part of that was not only the information and the exchange, but also subsequently having identified a couple of concerns about this pilot effort. There was an immediate response to it, which I really, really appreciate. And one of the questions we had asked was, is 2 vouchers a day enough to replace the existing fixed route 52? And the answer we got was, let us take a hard look at that. And within a week, they had decided that they could actually double that for the 5 work days, which really does make much better sense. And what that says to me is this is a real pilot program. They're flexible, they're willing to adjust, they're looking for feedback, and then they respond to it. So I really want to thank Palm Tran for what they're doing in that regard. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Drucker, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just want to give a little update on some things that are happening in Boca Raton. First, I want to thank Valerie and the TPA staff for all your help and support this year. They have given us a letter for a federal grant that we applied for to try to obtain monies to do our second platform for Brightline. So thank you, Valerie and team. I also wanted to share that our circuit program has been well received, and it's going really, really well. And we're going to get ready to extend it to our barrier island. Right now, the program was in downtown and a few areas outside of our downtown area. So that program has been going well. And lastly, for those residents that listen, and I said this in our meeting earlier this week, with the new administration, the Boca Raton airport will get much busier for the next 4 years, and there'll be more flights coming in. So we're trying to spread the word to our residents because there's going to be more noise, more traffic, and that's going to be for the next 4 years. So we are working with the county and obviously with PBI to make sure that all that works well for our residents and our community. And I want to thank everyone that serves on this board for all the hard work we do all year, and wishing everyone a happy and healthy holiday season. And the best is yet to come in 2025.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so just briefly, I'm excited that the City of Palm Beach Gardens at not the recent council meeting, but the recent council meeting, excuse me, we are going to start working on our TA grant for Burns Road, which is right near our city hall, a playground, schools, everything you want, for a 2-way separated cycle track and pedestrian upgrades. So we're excited about that. The application process started in 2021. So honestly, for a roadway project of this scale, we're thinking it's going quickly and well. And I also want to thank our staff because it's a big lift to even apply. And so we'll keep you guys posted on that. We're hoping our residents really enjoy it. You never know. So anyway, moving right along to the executive director's report.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for everyone for being here. Just a few updates from my director's report. Want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, I don't want to call anyone out, but we have half of the board that's registered for the Safe Street Summit. please register. This is a regional event that happens that the 3 MPOs put together, and we're the hosts this time, organized with other MPOs, but it's happening in this county here in West Palm Beach. The main event on February 7th. There's some mobile tours on February 6th, and we have national, international speakers coming, talking about best practices. It's going to be a really great event. And and we also have Safe Streets Awards. The nominations the deadline is tomorrow, and early bird registration ends next week. So we encourage you to attend, and also your staff and anyone who might be interested. It's going to be a really great event. And as a reminder, board members, your registration fee is waived. So also just a shout out, thank you to our sponsors and also some of our cities here on our board, City of Boca Raton, West Palm Beach, Wellington, who've also are sponsors to help make this event happen. We also have a couple e-bike and e-scooter safety events. We're partnering with REI, both in Boca Raton and also in Palm Beach Gardens. So one event is this weekend in Boca, Western Boca, on December 14th, and then also in January 11th in Palm Beach Gardens. Just wanting to educate the public, partnering with our partners to improve safety education on operating and on everything that has to do with these electric vehicles. So please share and attend if you can. We are also, as a staff, we're doing a TPA agricultural industry tour. The Florida Sugarcane League very generously invited us on a tour, and they also extended an invitation to any board members who want to join us. That's next week, Friday. So if you're interested, please let me know. There is a waiver that needs to be signed by next week. So hope to see you there. And we have 4 mobile tours coming up this is one of our strategic plan items to help our board experience and get to see our transportation system. So we have 4 coming up in the new year. Palm Beach International Airport mobile tour, Tri-Rail mobile tour to their headquarters, Port of Palm Beach mobile tour, and Port of Miami, or Port Miami is their official name, mobile tour coming up. So if you're able to join us, come along and learn firsthand from our partners. Mayor Reed mentioned that the Transportation Alternatives Funding Program, that's one of our federal grants that we do every year for non-motorized pedestrian bicycle facilities, safety improvements. We're accepting applications for that from our local municipalities through February. So if you have any projects, please work with your municipality or your local agency to apply. And there's also a call from the Smart Growth America Champions Institute. Applications are now open for that through January 17th. Some of our board members have done that before. I know a couple of you are interested for this round, but just wanted to announce that if anyone's interested. And there's also a call for the Best Complete Streets Policies Report. So this is a national update from the National Complete Streets Coalition on all the complete streets policies that were updated or adopted in this past year. They're asking for submissions to review and select the best ones, which I'm proud to announce here in this county, we've had 2 municipalities be in the top 10 in the past. Delray and Wellington most recently were selected in the top 10. And we have all those policies on our website as well as a template. So if your municipality does not have one, and would like to adopt one, you feel free to use the template or look to your peers who have adopted one as an example. And there's some more updates here, but that's just the run of the show. Thanks.
Excellent. Any comments, questions for Commissioner Woodward? It's lit.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay, I was just informed that the RPF actually was issued this morning,
Oh,
so
wow.
it is out and needs to go wide. Thank you.
Great.
It's out.
All right, that's exciting. Congrats for everybody that's been working on this together, and especially all the staff that have been putting in a lot of effort. Any other comments or questions regarding the executive director report? Commissioner Weiss?
Yes, thank you very much. Is there any update? I know when we were in Dallas, there was discussion regarding the ability to create a fund, if you will, like they have there for operations and so forth. Have you all looked into that?
And unfortunately, they do have different funding sources like CMAQ funding for air quality. We are in attainment here and are a much, much, much larger area that is able to have different types of funding. They're a consolidated agency with other agencies. So unfortunately, we can't do the same mechanisms as them. However, we do have a call scheduled with them coming up to further discuss and see if there's any best practices or things that we can further dive into and learn from them. So it looks like
Mayor Shaw.
Mayor Shaw joined us. Thank you. We have a seat right up here.
Mayor Hamara?
Actually, I think Commissioner Fox had.
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Fox, would you like to go ahead, please? Thank you, sir. You're my sneaky left blind spot.
I just wanted to mention, last year I participated in the Champions Institute with Smart America, and I would highly recommend anyone who might be interested. It's a monthly program. It's all done virtually, but they bring in a lot of great national speakers, and you get to hear what different cities around the country are working on. And, you notice that even though our climate is different and the populations are different, a lot of the challenges are the same. So there's speakers coming in all the time to talk about solutions that might work for your cities. And then at the end, they challenge you to do a program in your own city. And there's a lot of follow-up. I think Mayor Reed was also a participant a couple of years back. And, I see your name on a lot of emails that they continue to do a lot of outreach and keep up with us to make sure that they can help us in any way. So I just really encourage anyone that might be interested to take advantage of it. It's a fantastic program. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Mayor Hamara.
Thank you. And I just wanted to follow up on what Commissioner Woodward just reminded me of, and that is the release of the RFP for the countywide master transportation plan. That whole initiative is something that I think is extraordinary and offers all kinds of great opportunities. And I think perhaps this venue might be a good place to periodically update as we go through the process, which, of course, the first step in that process was the release of the RFP. And I want to thank the County Commission for acting so quickly on that. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's collaboration at work. We appreciate it. Any other comments, questions, or otherwise from the executive director's report? Or moving on. All right, great. So we're going to move on to our consent agenda. Is anyone pulling anything from the consent agenda today? Okay, nothing being pulled. So I need a motion and a second to. Okay, so we have Marino for the motion and for your second, if you
Naklis
can announce your
second.
name so I can see you. I'm sorry, Naklis second. Perfect. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. We'll move into our action items now. So we're going to start right off with our motion to elect our officers for 2025 calendar year. Bear with me. I have some official things to read before we start going in. Are we all set, Ruth? Okay, super. Pursuant to Section 2.2A of the TPA's operating procedures, the officers of the TPA shall consist of a chair, a vice chair, and 3 at-large representatives of the governing board. Together, the officers shall be referred to as the executive committee. Not more than 2 of the officers may be county commissioners. Section 2.2B of the TPA's operating procedure states that the officers shall be elected annually at the last regular scheduled meeting of the calendar year. Newly elected officers shall take office at the first regular scheduled meeting of the following calendar year. The executive committee meets at least once a year to recommend updates to the TPA strategic plan for consideration by the governing board, amongst other duties as necessary. Great. The chair and the vice chair shall serve as the MPOAC and SFETC or SEFTEC representatives and alternate respectively, and attend on behalf of the TPA. The 2025 required meeting dates for the chair and vice chair are on the screen. So aside from attending every TPA meeting, you are also required to attend SEFTEC and MPOAC. MPOAC is generally held in Orlando, and SEFTEC is held in West Palm, Miami-Dade, and Broward, depending on the meeting date. And then we have Section 2.2C specifies that the chair must have served on the TPA governing board as representative for a minimum of 1 year prior to taking office. All officers must have completed the MPOAC Institute training program for elected officials, attended a National Association or AMPO conference, received similar training. The training criteria can be waived by majority vote of the TPA governing board. Next slide. Perfect. A list of the TPA board representatives that meet these requirements are up on the slide projector now. Do we have any public comments regarding this action item?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, so with that, I'm opening the floor for a nomination for the TPA chair for 2025, and nominations do not require a second. I see a card for Mayor Napoleon.
I nominate our current chair to continue to serve as chair.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other nominations? We don't need a second for a nomination. Thank you, though. Anyone else? Do we need a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. It'd be an honor. Let's go ahead and move on to vice chair then, please. We'll open the floor now for a nomination for TPA vice chair for 2025. Commissioner Flores.
I nominate Mayor Maria Marino.
Excellent. We don't need a second. Are there any other nominations? Steady the ship. Keep it going. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you, Mayor Marino, for getting it done. We're doing it. Thank you guys so much. I know on behalf of myself and Mayor Marino, this is something we both enjoy, and we've been working on a long time, and Maria was a previous chair and was actually the person who recommended me for the Citizens Advisory 7 years ago. So we really appreciate it. Now we are going to move on to the executive committee elections. Last year, it got a little bit confusing. So just so you know, we now have this opening for 3 people who are the remaining board officers. And so we are going to take nominations for the 3 remaining seats. What we'd like you to do is, if you have a nomination, list the 3 names, not one at a time, that you would want to see on the executive committee. I see a card up for Commissioner Necklace.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Deputy Mayor Yvette Drucker, Commissioner Christy Fox, and Mayor Michael Napoleon.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Baxter.
Yes, I would also, you said we have to nominate 3.
It's the 3. And then I know it sounds sticky, but staff has a really great system to manage it. So it's the best way to do it.
I would like to actually nominate Commissioner Woodward. She's been a huge advocate for transportation recently. And then obviously Mayor Napoleon and Christy Fox.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I love that, honestly. However, I think that we have is it okay for 2 commissioners to serve on the executive committee from the county? Not, okay. So that is not,
Not
I'm
more
going
than
to lean
2,
on our
correct?
attorney.
So we
Not
can
more
have-
than 2.
Not more than.
Not more than 2. Okay. All right. So any other nominations for executive committee? All right. So I'm going to lean on Ruth and Milton for the best way to go forward on this. Take your time. Oh, wait. Okay. I'm sorry, Mayor Napoleon.
I have a question or suggestion because I know last year got a little confusing. Why don't you just have everyone vote on each person at a time? The 3 top vote getters get in instead of putting 2 people up against each other for random reasons.
I think that's, yeah, we discussed internally and Ruth's going to go each person and each person has to state the 3 names they want and then
Okay.
she'll tally it up. Is that what you were suggesting or different?
No, I was suggesting you put up just on this list, Yvette Drucker first, and then everyone votes yes or no, and then Christy Fox, then me, then Commissioner Woodward, and the top 3 vote getters would win. That way no one's going like head to head.
Otherwise, we do have 2 nominations that are the same. So if everyone agrees with that, it's really just the 3rd seat,
Correct.
which would be Drucker or Woodward.
Okay.
Right?
For that.
All right. That's okay. Maria and I have done this before too. We're all okay.
So Ruth will call
We'll get
each.
through it.
No, I would recommend just for that 1 seat.
Yes, sir.
So, yes.
All right, Ruth, take your time whenever you're ready. We'll go to vote.
Steve Wilson,
As in respect to my county commission on that, but Drucker, Fox, and Napoleon.
Yvette Drucker,
I'll stay with the same slate.
Fran Necklace,
Same slate.
Chuck Shaw,
Same slate.
Jim Koretsky,
Commissioner Woodward,
Joni Brinkman,
Commissioner Woodward.
DeAndre Poole,
Same slate.
Craig Wise,
Commissioner Woodward.
Marcy Woodward, Sarah Baxter,
Woodward.
Joelle Flores,
You have to push it 2 times now.
This is not an easy decision, and I apologize to my commissioner. But I believe that we need diversity up there, so I'm going with the same slate.
Glenn Spiritus,
Commissioner Woodward,
Jeff Hamara,
Just hoping the light wouldn't come on, so I would have to vote. For the sake of the mix of city and county, I'm gonna go with the same slate.
Michael Napoleon,
Drucker.
Christy Fox,
Same slate.
Shalonda Warren,
Drucker.
Maria Marino,
Woodward.
Chelsea Reed.
Same slate.
Yes.
The same slate.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, congratulations, everybody. We really appreciate the leadership of every single person sitting here on this board. It is a group of 21 people that have a large task, and the work is excellent with an amazing team and staff to help as well. Anything else before we move on and close that? Valerie, you're good? All right, so we're going to move on to item B on our action items, the motion to adopt the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. And I'm going to invite Stuart Robertson from Kimley Horn Associates to please present on this item. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, members of the TPA Governing Board. My name is Stuart Robertson with Kimley Horn and Associates. And this presentation is the culmination of the 18-month process by which you've been going through the Long Range Transportation Plan. In October, I gave a presentation that went into detail through the plan. Since then, we have addressed comments received from TPA stakeholders, published the revised version of the 2050 LRTP on the TPA website for your consideration. And today's presentation presents a brief overview and summary of the plan. And TPA staff are asking for a motion to adopt the 2050 LRTP. So the LRTP is a process that every MPO in the country participates in. It is meant to be a living document. There are major updates every 5 years, and that is the process that we are currently going through. But it can be amended at any time by the TPA Governing Board should new priorities or new funding sources of federal and state transportation dollars become available or known. The plan is required to meet federal and state guidelines for planning in urbanized areas, and it guides the federal and state transportation funding per the priorities of the Governing Board. So that's important to remember, is that it is for federal and state transportation funding. The LRTP also serves as a pipeline for the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, which is the TPA's 5-year work program for implementation. So just a few highlights on the updates that we have made since October. Some projects have received updated project costs and descriptions from the stakeholders who provided comments. We have been responsive to those comments. We've moved the other local projects submitted during the call for projects into the appendices. This would be the local funding projects. We included our description of the scenario planning summary, which is a travel demand modeling exercise where the team runs models based on certain assumptions of various future outcomes that may take place, one of which was the transit desires summary. So modeling what travel would look like in Palm Beach County if all of the transit desires that have been identified by the TPA, FDOT, the county, and Tri-Rail were to be implemented. We also had a scenario related to autonomous and connected vehicles and a scenario related to telecommuting. And as I mentioned, all of the full report, including the appendices, are available for review on the TPA website. So this has been an 18-month public-facing process. You've seen several presentations, either from me or from TPA staff throughout those 18 months as we went through the various steps in the development of the LRTP. For the prioritization process, it's important to remember we have two buckets of projects that are from the needs development. Those are shown on the left side of this slide. One is the multimodal needs. Those are projects identified through an analysis of technical data related to travel flow. And the second, which is in the sky blue box, are the project desires. The TPA went through a call for projects process and received over 1,300 projects through that very open process from both state as well as local agencies. So the projects then went through a screening process for alignment with TPA goals. And then finally, this produced the Vision 2050 plan as shown in the three buckets on the right side of this slide. Those would be cost feasible. These are projects that are anticipated to have TPA attributable dollars available to them through the revenue forecasting process that we went through, working very closely with the Florida Department of Transportation and its revenue forecasting office in Tallahassee, as well as other local transportation providers as well. There's also the box of illustrative projects. These are the ones shown in the blue box on the right column. These are projects that are also eligible for federal and state funds through TPA attributable dollars, and they are included in the LRTP. And then finally, the box that is shown in gray here, those are other projects submitted. Those are currently ineligible for federal and state funds. Primarily, these are typically projects that would be implemented by local governments through local funding sources. It's also important to realize that some projects may be phased. So in the cost feasible plan, you will see some projects that have certain phase, such as a project development and environment study or PD&E study that are shown within the cost feasible plan, but other phases of that project may be considered illustrative at this time. Also want to highlight some of the items within the 2050 LRTP that are new to Vision 2050, and this is as compared to the 2045 LRTP, that's the current adopted plan. One of the key things is much more focus on short-term and long-term implementation strategies for transit. And our concept with this plan was to build transit ridership over time, starting today with things we can do such as bus shelters, crosswalks, other connectivity improvements, to be able to support premium transit funding in the future. So we want to build up that transit ridership first in order for transit projects in Palm Beach County to be more appropriate for federal funding in the future through the Federal Transit Administration. So I mentioned the shelters. Also, I want to mention several ideas for connecting bus routes that are in this plan. One is a series of express bus routes that would take people from high population areas into transfer stations or high employment density areas, and also mobility on demand zones. That's another thing that's new for this LRTP. We're seeing a lot of communities already go to some app-based system for their residents and visitors to be able to make short trips, and in particular to connect to premium transit. So mobility on demand zones are also identified within this plan. Some of the express bus routes are shown on this map in green, and those are also designed with an idea of moving people long distances without having to make stops, but also to connect to transit transfer stations in high-density areas. There's also been a lot of work in refining the active transportation network. This is for non-motorized transportation. And the priority was providing low-stress networks on the federal aid eligible system for increasing the portion of the population that uses walking and biking, and in particular connectivity to public transit through those modes. We've also identified freight activity areas known as freight zones in the plan. This would be for being able to be eligible for federal and state funding related to the movement of goods. We've also identified electric and alternative fuel corridors, which is another requirement for certain funding sources that could be available as those technologies continue to roll out. And finally, feasibility studies. Examples include Sun Trail feasibility study, that's the state network of walking and biking trails, resiliency studies on State Road A1A, and a US 27 rail feasibility study, which would be looking at moving some of the freight rail traffic to the US 27 corridor. Also, you'll see maps that identify where those zones are, including the ITS corridors. This slide shows those identified by FDOT in its TSO master plan. After this slide was developed and based on input from county engineering, we also added the county's arterial management program, or AMP, to this map. So the last thing I wanted to hit on is how we go from concept to implementation. The Vision 2050 LRTP really is the initial planning document that identifies concepts for your consideration for funding over the next 5 years. So having a project identified either in the cost feasible plan or in the illustrative list makes it eligible for you to prioritize into future versions of the Transportation Improvement Program. The way that you would do that would be through the list of priority projects process, or LOPP. This is an annual document that the TPA Governing Board adopts in order to communicate its priorities to state and federal transportation agencies. So from that list of priority projects, projects then go into the 5-year TIP, which is the work program for funding, design, and construction. So once it goes into the TIP, a project would be considered programmed. So that wraps up my summary presentation, and I would be happy to address any questions or comments that you may have. Thank you so
sir.
much.
Ruth, do we have any public comment first?
Yes, I'd like to invite Pia Scorin to the podium to make a public comment.
Ruth, are there any requirements for anyone making public comment?
There is, it's a 3-minute limit. So we'll have a timer on the screen.
Hi, everybody. I guess we're coming into this a little late in the process, but we still want to make sure that
I'm
you
so sorry. Could you
understand-
state your name again? I apologize.
I'm sorry, I didn't get there yet.
Oh,
I
okay.
will.
Thank you.
I guess we're getting into this a little late in the process, but we wanted to make sure that you knew where we were coming from. I'm sorry. We have trouble hearing you guys too, so thank you. My name is Pia Scorin. I've been a resident of the acreage for 34 years. My neighbors and I have grave concerns about the proposed traffic plan for our area. All roads seem to lead through our neighborhood, funneling the traffic from all the new surrounding developments right into and through local roads, roads that are not capable of handling that level of traffic in the acreage. You must complete State Road 7 to Northlake. The very same environmental issues existed when the road extension route was agreed upon. Your phased approach left us with far more traffic than was ever anticipated going through Orange Grove and Persimmon and Coconut. You must build State Road 7 extension to Northlake in the same environmentally sound way you built the existing extension. Negotiate with West Palm and environmentalists until there is a plan that extends State Road 7 to North Lake, that takes the traffic off our local roads. We urge you to do it now. The county created this problem and the county needs to fix it quickly. The acreage boundaries are no less sacrosanct than the borders of the municipalities and gated communities being built around us. The traffic these new developments have created must be funneled around and not through our community. The roads relied on for capacity to build these developments have not been completed. They must be completed ASAP. Extend State Road 7 to North Lake. Widen North Lake to Seminole Pratt sufficiently, so we don't do it a million times. Extend Seminole Pratt to Beeline, widen 60th from State Road 7 to Seminole Pratt, not the other way so that it's dumping traffic into our area until it's completed. You must complete these roads before you widen State Road 7, the existing State Road 7 extension, and before you widen Coconut. The acreage roads are not the solution. Complete the beltway around the acreage that was planned. Go around us just like you go around gated communities and municipalities. This proposed plan is not good for the acreage. You know it and we know it. Please work with the acreage landowners to create a traffic plan and prioritize projects so you do not ruin our neighborhood further. What you are doing is unconscionable to the acreage. Please change your plan and your priorities. Consider HOV lanes, consider public transportation.
Thank you for your comment. Your time is up.
We need signage for truck routes around our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Ruth.
Next, I'd like to invite William Dirks to the podium to make a public comment.
Good morning, board members. My name is Bill Dirks. I'm a mango farmer out in western Loxahatchee. I'm here to raise awareness regarding the needs of our growing rural community. Most people there like to say preserve and protect. I'm asking you to help us with that. Overall, we ask you to open up the main arterial roads to reduce the cut-through traffic through our dirt roads. North Lake, for example, is backed up during rush hour, worse than other communities. And because State Route 7 extension has not passed the legal challenge, there are now efforts to invoke eminent domain along Coconut Road to widen it and to relieve gridlock on North Lake caused by the building of Avenir. Similarly, the Arden community off of State Route 80 near Lion Country Safari was built with one entrance, and property owners are pushing for the extension of Okeechobee Road to reach their northern edge. Please don't let this happen. It will have a negative impact it'll have a negative impact on neighboring communities within ITID and Loxahatchee Groves. Speed limits on Okeechobee Road are mandated by Loxahatchee Groves, and there already is too much traffic there. All the Arden needs is an emergency exit. So I have a proposal. Since your 2050 public input map currently shows the extension of Okeechobee Road running west past the Arden and through the Palm Beach aggregates and joining up with State Route 80 near 20 Mile Bend, build a road starting at Southern State Route 80 on the southwest corner of Arden and make it run directly north all the way up until it reaches 60th Street. That could be their emergency exit. The existing plan appears to require the taking of homes. And while you're at it, you could continue that road all the way up to 94th Street on the edge of Corbett, and east until it reaches Seminole Pratt Whitney. You can continue it all the way up to 94th Street on the edge of Colbert until it reaches Seminole Pratt Whitney, which will connect to the promised extension that leads to Beeline Highway, which is also very critical. You could call that the outer loop of the acreage. It would also serve as an outlet for future development of GL Homes, which plans to build start building in the next few years. In fact, I believe they plan to build 4,700 homes in the northwest quadrant of Loxahatchee. If GEO were ever built, there'd be a great deal of community backlash because they are already overcrowding our roads. Any people living in those neighborhoods could choose to go to the North County and can avoid taking North Lake, and they won't have to drive through all the dirt roads
Thank you
in
for your comment.
ITID.
Your time is up.
Thank you for coming.
Last public comment. I'd like to invite Ben Brown to the podium to make a public comment.
Yeah, good morning. Ben Brown, live in the community of Arden. Thanks for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm here to express similar concerns that the previous two speakers mentioned, coming more from the community of Arden, which was built and developed over the last 6 years. The PUD originated in 2014, which did have the Okeechobee extension on that road. Since it is not a priority, or obviously this plan out here for 2050, it doesn't seem that Okeechobee is a major priority to get it expedited. I see all these great signs around here, vision, mission statements, right there on the vision, it says a safe and efficient and connected multi-model, on and on and on. We are not safe in Arden. The recent tragedy of the 3 deputies that occurred showed and exposed how bad it is. Our community of over 2,000 homes, many of which people spend over $1 million on. It's a lot of tax revenue coming into the county. We cannot come or go when those roads are shut down. We're talking almost 12 hours after that last major recent tragedy occurred. We have over 10% that are first responders, PBSO, firefighters, and you have it. We feel abandoned, all residents there, and forgotten that this has not been put forward and made right. We were all shown the plans by the builder and the developer that this was coming after the 3rd lane on Southern was added, but it has fallen on deaf ears, be it from whoever's in charge, local leaders. I'm here to express that we are tired of it, and I'm here to get it on the record, and hopefully all of the ears are open to understand this. We continue to be trapped. With that, our closest fire station's almost 6 miles away. Current response times are almost 13 minutes as is, double the county average. When the roads are shut down, it gets even longer and even worse, if not impossible. Many of us cannot attend work, school, get to our children. Do you know what it feels like? We had 4 major accidents in the last 48 hours that did not allow us to travel for over an hour within a 3-mile radius of my community. Do you know what it's like to plan on the daily to contact family members outside of your community to maybe pick up your children? My phone is flooded. Pregnant women, people with urgent appointments, specialists, they all have these urgent things to get to, and they cannot get to those. I fear the appearance, the way things are currently in our community and the western corridor of the county, is that the county is very happy to approve all the developments by the developers and build all the good stuff. But the infrastructural needs, the safety needs of our community are forgotten and not prioritized. And the evidence is in your own stats. TPA shows, if you look it up, 28 major accidents over the last 5 years. Your solution was lights and 20-something million dollars. We need the Okeechobee extension to Southern and built ASAP. The study, maybe a year further, I'm getting told 5+ years. We will not be able to survive in that area. You're endangering lives. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Do we have any other public comments?
We do. We have one online. NC, you may proceed with your public comment. Please state your full name.
Hi, my name is Nina Corning. I live in Loxahatchee Groves, and I believe everyone that has moved out into these communities that have been built had their due diligence time when they bought their house. We are a rural community, and as such, we cannot be bisected or simply driven through and expanded upon and have the impacts of this traffic. Frankly, if you plan on going through us more than you already are, you ought to go and build a flyover and afford that. We all didn't want any of these developments to be approved. We all objected to these developments being approved. Now that they're there, you need to keep them on the arterial roads and not through our small communities and not through our rural communities. It is not fair because we did all our due diligence when we moved and bought our homes back when. So I'm sorry, but you chose to move out to no man's land, out pretty much in the Gapo, and now you're wanting us to give way to all of your traffic. It is not right. And that's my comment. Thank you.
And that's it for public comments today.
Yes, that's it.
All right, thank you all so much. We're going to move on to comments from the board or any questions from the boards. I see one card up from Mayor Koretsky.
Yes, I'm most definitely not going to be supporting the long-term plan that's before us. I'm greatly disappointed with the outcome. There's a lot of good work that went into it, a lot of new enhanced features, things that are covered, but I think we lost sight of a fundamental. So I'm talking about roadway. I've talked about before. I've communicated with the staff. I've asked for it to be in the plan. And I just want to state what some facts. Okay, in June of 2019, FDOT District 4, without being asked, completed a Palm Beach County congestion assessment study. It gave a table of the most congested locations. There's a roadway segment on Indian Town Road, State Road 706, that they prioritized to rank number 1. In June of 20, District 4 continued to proactively work, and they did a congestion assessment, concept development, and evaluation report for that segment, perhaps others. And they acknowledged that existing level of service F conditions existed AM and PM, peak hour traffic on that roadway segment. They looked at 3 roadway improvement alternatives. They came up with cost estimates, project benefits, benefit cost ratios, and reviewed right away. 2 roadway improvement projects were recommended for evaluation implementation, with next steps involved more detailed analysis. I'm so grateful upon when I received that report year plus ago and discovered how much study work had already been done. I have about 150 pages here, and again, I've distributed to TPA staff. The report contents are quite compelling. The implementation of traffic mitigation solutions are well justified. Again, a 2019 study, most congested roadway segment in the county. Doesn't even make the priority list. So someone's going to tell me it's not cost feasible through 2050. Oh, it ends up on an illustrative project list, buried on page 70. Doesn't even have a cost estimate associated, although FDOT gave it to us. So disappointed. I wonder if number 2, number 3, number 4, and so forth on the list are in our plan. I didn't get a chance to look because I just learned yesterday, quite frankly, it wasn't included in there. I continued to offer it up and expected it to be in there. Now I learned, and I'm grateful, and I'm sharing this with my colleagues that, I've been around on this board several tours, and I always look in the mirror first. I learned something that I never knew before. It takes the TPA to prioritize this project for it to be on the list. FDOT, when it gets to that section of their state roadway system, relies on TPAs. Learning from me, I'm just sharing, it's stunning. So again, the fact that I just can't support this, plan when, a road that was identified, what do I tell residents? Yeah, it's the most congested in the county and it's going to continue to be that way. And gee, it's not in a cost feasible plan. As I said to our executive director this morning, and I understand that's the vernacular people use, but people think that means that it's justified when you say cost feasible. There's a cost benefit analysis done by FDOT that says it more than pays back. And so I'll just leave it at that. But, and I'm really grateful, Commissioner, that you reported on the county transportation plan. because I look at that as the hope for what's missing here. Is that we did that in the 2045 plan. We had less of that in this plan. And then have gaps like that, to me, that is just unacceptable. So I'm looking forward to the county transportation plan, taking a look and not forgetting these great studies and information out there of, hey, have we checked? Are the congested roadways being addressed? Because I submit to you, if they're not, we failed.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, Valerie.
If I may, thank you, Mayor, for your comments. Could I have Stuart, our consultant on the LRTP, just clarify a little bit more about what was commented on Indiantown Road? What is moving forward and how this project is on the priority list, but why the entire section or these other sections of it are not yet on the cost feasible and next steps?
Yes, so the projects that have been studied by FDOT, it is our intent absolutely to include them in the LRTP, which makes them eligible to go into the work program for implementation. There are several projects underway right now on Indiantown Road, one in construction, as you referenced earlier in the meeting, Mayor, and also one that's under design by FDOT staff at the moment. So perhaps FDOT staff could speak in more detail to that. I believe it is to add an additional travel lane to Indiantown Road. Beyond that, within the LRTP, we have the PD&E identified at Central and also the project to add an innovative intersection treatment called the displaced left turn on Indiantown. So it is absolutely our intent to prioritize traffic flow and congestion issues on Indiantown Road. It's not our intent to not have that as part of the plan.
This is the segment that was identified, which goes from Central Boulevard to Center Street, Maplewood. It's buried back on the illustrative project list.
Yes, I believe that is the one for the PD&E study, which would be that further detailed step beyond the study that you reviewed from FDOT in order to identify a feasible alternative to implement and what the construction cost of that would be.
No funding available for, so when it's on the illustrative list. Thank you.
All right, we do, go ahead, George.
I'm not sure. Would Steve Brown, our Secretary of Transportation, would you like to elaborate a little more on the different moving parts on this segment? Next steps to get funding for that?
Good morning, Steve Braun, District 4 Secretary. Happy to be here for the next presentation, but I'll take a stab at the many moving parts on this question, Mayor Koretsky. So as you mentioned, right, a study was done by the department looking at congested corridors, identified that segment as a high congestion corridor. The PD&E study at Central Boulevard, and we'll hear that in the next presentation, was advanced to fiscal year 26. So that's for that intersection. We do have design underway for, I'll say, maybe a third of that segment that you're referencing for turn lane type improvements, extension of turn lanes to at least get some of the traffic flow out of those 3 lanes. From a process perspective, we're able to do those type of operational improvements without going through the full project development environment study, right? It's within existing right-of-way, doesn't require full capacity, additional lanes, and a lot of the other criteria that would require a PD&E. So I think the moving parts, right, I'll use a non-technical term here. I think a piecemeal approach is what we're taking based on the needs that were identified, things that perhaps don't necessarily have to go through the long-range planning process, but we have heard kind of obviously the need for that area. So I think as far as what's in the works, that's at least the next steps. We have had conversations with TPA staff on opportunities for that entire limit as far as the full project development and environment study. I think for me, it was enlightening at least to hear from the consultant and TPA staff this morning that those limits for the full capacity widening, at least having a line item there, and Executive Director, correct me if I'm wrong, at least gives an opportunity at a future cycle to prioritize that segment for that next phase, which in that case would be a PD&E, even though there wasn't necessarily a cost estimate associated with it.
Yes, so it is in our illustrative list, our desires list. That means that regardless of the LRTP, we can continue to push for it in our list of priority projects and see funding sooner than what's reflected right now. So we will continue to work with the department on these different phases, the ones that are funding, and then addressing the entire, trying to push for the entire segment of the corridor to keep moving it forward.
And if I may, just because you had a comment there, really just to enlighten, I think, the board on a point that we discussed earlier today. So you've seen the Department of Transportation up here, right, whether it's presenting our work program or other projects or programs. There are certain programs that we, the DOT, actually plan for and prioritize and implement those projects. For example, the strategic intermodal system, right? We coordinate obviously closely with the TPA and the municipalities and stakeholders, but the strategic intermodal center, right, system, primarily the interstates, connections to the ports, airports, we're able to plan and prioritize those type of projects in coordination through that program. Our resurfacing program, as an example, we identify those resurfacing needs based on pavement condition on the state road system, and we're able to, again, plan and program and prioritize those type of projects. To Mayor Koretsky's point, on the arterial roadway network, whether it's a state road or a non-state road, the capacity improvements, projects to widen from a 4 to 6 lane on an arterial roadway would come through the pipeline of the long-range plan, the list of priority projects through the TPA as kind of that birth of a project to actually bring it to the department to actually say, this needs identified, it's cost feasible. We as a TPA have prioritized that and would want the department to move ahead with the next phases. So to me, that I think is the distinction that I wanted to try and clarify. Hopefully, as I rambled through that, it was some clarification. But thank you.
I'm sorry, I want to just get you, I'm going to ask you and then just confirm what you just said, because both of us said this. That's the learning for all of us up here. As I sat here thinking that FDOT would put it on the list, and I learned that it's outside of the area that FDOT would put on the list, so it'll never get on the list if it doesn't become a TPA priority, correct?
It would, so capacity improvement, a widening of an arterial, even on the state road system, would go through the long-range planning process, identify the need, get into the long-range plan, and then ultimately this board would have input on, is that a priority, to ultimately say, yes, we'd like to use federal funds towards that project or make it a priority for the department as far as the arterial roadway network, as far as capacity, widening 4 to 6 lane, 2 to 4 lane, or new corridors for that matter, right?
So so it currently is listed as a priority in the long range plan. So it is eligible for the funds. Where it comes to play, the funds are the list of priority projects that we bring in July that then feeds into the TIP. We obviously have a list of things in line. An example of a non-FDOT, something led by the TPA that's not on the major network like the state intermodal system, I-95, so forth. An example of a TPA-led priority, the number one priority on the list that this board has directed funding to is State Road 7 extension, which is in litigation right now, but that is a 2004 priority that's there. That's an example of something led by the TPA off the main system. So all those lists in our list of priority projects that we bring every year to the board in July, that's what feeds into the TIP. So this project is a priority. It is eligible for funds. It is included in the LRTP. It's not yet shown in the cost feasible of the LRTP, but that could change through our list of priority projects process and the TIP.
Right. And then the other point I want to share, right, obviously we share data, exchange data, whether it's operational improvement needs, which in this case, that's really was that 2019 study. It was at least an opportunity to share our findings. It wasn't the be all and end all to say, okay, thou shalt prioritize that as a project. And similar to safety data and our safety program, that's an area where if we identify a safety need, right, we have resources to implement those where needed as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the explanations. All set to move on? We have a card up from Commissioner Baxter, please.
I was just going to ask if we could have Valerie or someone for staff just explain where SR7 is now on the extension so everyone, for the benefit of people that came to speak, understand where that stands and what we can and can't do in regards to it.
Sure. Just to provide, I'll also provide a little bit clarification, and I want to thank everyone for your comments, for coming here today, for sharing some of that feedback. What this agency does, we're a federally mandated agency, and we direct federal and state urban area formula funds on the state system and on the federal aid network. We have no say over the county's roadways, over the county's projects or local city projects. So some of the feedback is well heard today. State Road 7 would be something that we have a say over. We don't have a say over the local roads or the county roads. So just, I want to clarify that those are decisions made at their bodies, at their boards. For State Road 7, there's two projects. There's the widening project of the existing segment north of Okeechobee, and then there's an extension project. Both of these are listed as our number one priorities. They are moving forward with funding. They're currently in litigation. There was a hearing, and we actually have the project manager here, so I might call him up, Scott Peterson, to speak. But we are waiting on a court hearing decision that should come out in the spring. And then it's just moving forward. As of now, it's moving forward. I'll call up Scott Peterson, so from FDOT, so he can speak a little bit more on the latest of this project.
Good morning. As Valerie said, Scott Peterson, Department of Transportation, essentially the project manager for State Road 7 extension. There's been two challenges to the project, to two different permits. One of them is the environmental resource permit. That trial concluded in May of 2024. The trial record is tens of thousands of pages. It was a 7-week trial. It will take the judge, who only started deliberating last month because some other required documentation needed to be submitted. That is going to take probably 6 months. There's no statutory deadline by which she has to rule, but it will take several months. We're hoping, by middle or early of next year. The other trial was scheduled to happen this week. It is a much more minor permit for the dewatering permit, just for a small portion of the project to dewater, to construct some drainage. There was a small delay in that trial due to some legal wrangling. Nothing about the design was found incorrect. That will be rescheduled early next year, somewhere between February and April. So right now the projects are sitting in fiscal year 28 and 29. So waiting for this hearing officer's ruling is not holding up those schedules at this moment.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that update. And when we talk about fiscal year 28, that means starting July 2027, funding is in that fiscal year, fiscal 28, 29 in the work program. And as a body, the funds that we do get to prioritize are primarily going to that number one project.
So to clarify, that project just sitting there and not moving forward is taking up a lot of funding that could be utilized for a lot of other roadway projects.
Yeah, so the project is moving forward. It's in these fiscal years, but more funding is needed, and they will continue to pull funding of what we get to prioritize to make it happen.
Thank you for the clarification. All right, shall we move on? We also have a card up from Mayor Napoleon, and after that we'll have Councilmember Spiritus and then Mayor Hamara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank my fellow Western community residents for speaking today. I share and appreciate your concerns about the connectivity of the Western communities to the rest of the state, especially the eastern part. I do know that we have issues with the state road extension, which has been tied up. That needs to happen. It's a public safety issue. It's a quality of life issue. We need to get that moving as quickly as we can, and I know it's litigation. I also experienced the frustration that was caused by the tragic accident in the PBSO. I had several middle schoolers trapped in my house because their parents literally could not get from Arden to, I'm east, I guess, from where I am. They couldn't get there because the roads were shut down for hours. So we need to find a way to connect that community back to the eastern part. If we have to get that state road, Okeechobee extension done sooner, we need to move that up. I support the plan, but we do need to keep looking at ways to tweak it and improve it, especially to improve the connectivity for the folks out in the western communities, because that's where a lot of the growth is happening. And if we're going to build the communities, we have to make sure those people can get around the state, and we need to do it safely and effectively. So that's my comment.
Thank you, sir. All right, Councilmember Spiotus.
Right, I intend to vote for the long-range plan, but I do want to bring attention to the fact that US 1 Broadway in Riviera Beach, between 13th Street and Silver Beach Road, which is the borderline to Lake Park, we have approximately 8 20-story plus buildings. They're about 25 stories each that are well into the planning process and will be developed. So we're going to have to look at some turning lanes, I guess near Blue Heron and maybe at Silver Beach Road. So maybe we should have a mid-range plan instead of a long-range plan. But it's something that we're going to have to consider in the near future. So I just want to go on the record and please have staff start looking at that.
This is, well, just to clarify, so we are federally mandated to do the LRTP every 5 years. It'll keep coming up every 5 years, but we've noted your comments, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so we'll move on to Mayor Hamara.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, and Mayor Wilson after that. Yes, sir.
So to address Mayor Koretsky's concerns, I would say that, first of all, the reason we took up this initiative for a countywide master transportation plan is exactly this kind of thing. What we have in the LRTP, despite the best efforts to be sensitive to all of the elements of this network that we call the transportation network in the county, is an incomplete picture. It absolutely is. And so it's hard for me to look at something that does lay out guidelines, even guidelines for some flexibility to pick up on other things and reprioritize without considerable concern. It's one of the reasons I have so much hope for this countywide master transportation plan, because it will be a more complete set of considerations, issues, and possible solutions to include what we're dealing with in Western communities right now, which is going to get worse, certainly before we even have a chance at improving it, reducing the traffic congestion. The extreme situation that we found was not only tragic out there, the loss of 3 deputies, but it was also a demonstration of a network that is easily jammed to the point of causing considerable impacts and certainly on our quality of life, but even more importantly than that. So for me, this is an opportunity to reinforce the importance of taking on this countywide master transportation plan. I see that as something that'll give us a more complete look at the possibilities of alternatives and also the possibilities of leaning into mass transit in areas that we haven't done before. So hopefully everybody who's involved and this particular board will be supportive of moving forward with this master transportation planning initiative. So thank you.
I pushed it. Sorry, Mayor Wilson.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I too, like many of my colleagues, I will support the 2050 plan. However, what's amazing to me is that everybody know that Palm Beach County is continuing to grow. And the traffic is always going to be an issue. The compelling evidence by these folks came up by all means. We've been kicking the can down the road with State Road 7. You're right. My question is, what happens if the ruling is against doing State Road 7 extension? Where we go from there? There's a lot of engineers in this room alone, experts. You mean to tell me we can't come up with a plan of action where it's a win-win for everybody? It's got to be a way that we can put something together so that everybody walking away from the table seem to be pleased. You're not going to satisfy it to 100%. But at some point in time, watching the traffic, as even in the glades, sit down and watch the traffic. And for us to sit here and say, well, we're going to wait till what the litigation, the ruling, and then not have a plan afterwards. Madam Chair, I will urge you, to your leadership team, give the powers to be to maybe think outside the box and begin to put something together if it's not in favor of the extension. And I've been here when we first put it all on the table and surprised that we're still fighting it. But if it's opposed, what are we going to do? We're going to continue talking about it, or we're going to have a plan of action to make sure everybody's happy.
Thank you, sir. We have a comment card up from Mayor Marino. I apologize if we could, if we'd like to have decorum. We're respectful of your words and your time. Please be respectful of everybody else's. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Reed. Since we don't have an opportunity oftentimes to speak about the transportation master plan that is on the street today, my comments are, this is truly a partnership of the county, the 39 municipalities, but it'll only succeed if all of us, 39 municipalities and the county, do a complete analysis of what your needs are, not just now, not tomorrow, but also in the future. As you said, you've got buildings going up on US 1. The idea of the master plan is it's a global perspective. It's a view of your comprehensive plans in the future. And it's not just about what dollars are going, and we haven't even talked about dollars going anywhere. It's not about, how you're going to spend money if in case we ever do a transportation surtax in the future that this master plan may or may not justify. But just suffice it to say that the county, along with the municipalities, it's not going to work unless we're all working as partners. But we need complete information. So Mayor Wilson, to your point, the transportation master plan is about a complete and total global look of the county. So anything that out in the glades you need that has to be transportation related is something we need to hear about. And with the global plan like this, we can see what other alternatives there may be. So I just encourage all of our municipalities to work hand in hand with the county. That's what we did to get this RFP in place in the first place with MCFIC and with the Issues Forum. And thank you, Commissioner Weiss, for bringing this up several months ago. So we would get the RFP on the street. And like all of us up here, we're looking forward to the amount and gathering of information, and the RFP is going to be broad so that it can be a very complete generation of information. So thank you, Chair Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All right, we have Commissioner Flores.
Make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, sir. Your motion is noted. We do have seconded by Baxter. I did have one more card up over on my left with Commissioner Woodward, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have one question on as far as the list of priority projects, just because I know State Road 7 goes back for 20 years now. Well, since this was 2004 when it was put on the list, right? Does the plan as it's changing, is it always the oldest that's been put on there, or do we have the ability to rearrange that because of the changes that have occurred in this county? I mean, we have a municipality that didn't even exist at this time that it now is in that area. And, I was looking at our goals, objectives, and performance measures, which are nice: safe, efficient, connected, multimodal, resilient. Those are all nice, but to get back to Mayor Koretsky, overcapacity is a big one, which, I call it a failing road. I'm keeping told, don't call it that, because the road itself is okay, but you can't move. And why is that ever put as the actual top priority? And if we have sections of our road where people are in gridlock and changes are happening, we have new developments coming. I mean, I was on the call yesterday with Boynton, and there's 2,000 units coming to an area of town where, it's just, we are developing. So what was put into place, not that State Road 7 extension is not important. I personally believe that it is, but there's a number of areas around the county that have new densities and new congestion that didn't exist then. How often do we address the actual densities and the traffic and move these things around? So something that was a priority, perhaps maybe the development around that hasn't increased as much as a different area. So not so much the length of time that it's been on our plan, but what has actually occurred, the reality of the traffic around it. How is that addressed by our consultant? How is that addressed by any of this?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So from the TPA's perspective, the LRTP is a living document. The board could modify priorities at any of its meetings. That would be a minor amendment to the LRTP. Each year, the board adopts a list of priority projects. So that would be the formal way to communicate priorities to state and federal funding agencies as to what the local priorities are for projects to go into and enter the work program, the 5-year work
I guess
program.
my question is, do we receive guidance from our consultant on that list, or is it more the loudest voices in the room get that priority?
That is a decision of the board. You can ask for my advice if you want to, but the LOPP is a decision.
I
of the
think,
board.
Stuart, what Commissioner Woodward's asking is this an informed plan? So I think there's two questions in the question. One is, yes, we have an outlier like State Road 7 that's from 2004. The other priorities are not so old. Others are, more recent as of, in the last 5, 7, 10 years, which have been committed, that our communities have applied for, that have been prioritized on a scoring system based on disadvantaged areas, based on congestion, on safety, and so forth. So those are moving up in the pipeline. At any meeting, someone might say, I make a motion to take this off, or I make a motion to remove so-and-so city's project, like push my project above these other guys that were scored higher because of the criteria that we have in 2017, and I want mine to go forward. And that would be the will of the board to say, yes, push that other project down and move this one up. That's to the will of the board. We have scoring criteria that the board adopts every year. We bring a list of priority projects, which is kind of like our live list in July every year. And that's the opportunity to say, this is still what we all agree on, or throw this out. But it is guided by scoring. The LRTP and our consultant does screen the projects and make sure that they're still meeting what we're trying to achieve. When it comes, we have no say over land use decisions. We have no say over county roadways or the right of way. But when it comes to, there is a reality that we're facing in this county, which is in the urbanized area, in the western area, we're constrained by environmental constraints and other things that prohibit more roadways and things to happen, which creates congestion and a lot of pressure if you continue to develop in that area. On the eastern area and the more urban area, if you are able to redevelop, yes, there may be more people and you redevelop with more density. However, that now you have to shift and start moving people in other ways, and providing more solutions. In this long-range transportation plan, Stuart brought it up on the slide. New things that we're considering and that we're planning for are traffic signal technology to help with traffic, like short, mid, and long-term wins. Some of those mid and long-term wins, we talked about express bus routes, express limited stop service for commuters that do live in farther areas but commute every single day into the urban core. Those are new solutions in addition to on-demand services, which some of our communities like Belglade has, and that's been very successful, and other communities are starting to have. So looking at more of those solutions, at the end of the day, we do have a geometry issue. We have roads such as US 1, which we can't widen anymore. And we have to start finding ways to move people, providing more options, providing more alternatives to move people. In some instances, there is room to widen. There is room to do more, but in other instances, there just isn't, unless we're going to take down buildings and homes. So in this plan, I think we heard it from our advisory committees, which all were very receptive of the plan and happy with the process, that we are looking at a lot of more innovative solutions and into the future. But as Mayor Marino mentioned, this is a very collaborative process. Although we may be prioritizing only about less than half of the federal aid roadways in this county, we have to work collaboratively with our partners on what they're doing. And I think the master transportation plan, just like Broward and Miami-Dade and other counties have done, will be a really good initiative and a really good effort coming from the city, from the county, and working with the cities together on what that local network is that connects so we can all move forward together.
Thank you. We have a card from Commissioner Baxter.
I just wanted to kind of follow up. Yes, State Road 7, in my opinion, has been a number one priority. I mean, in the acreage area, especially Loxahatchee, the western communities, it is a key factor to making so many reliefs to so many other roads and congestion. So I'd just like to thank this board for continually to put it as our first priority in this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, I don't see any further cards up. Do we have any other public comment from Zoom world or anything like that?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. We have a motion from Commissioner Flores and a second by Commissioner Baxter. With that, could we do a roll call vote, please, Ruth?
Steve Wilson,
Aye.
Yvette Drucker,
Yes.
Fran Nacklis,
Yes.
Chuck Shaw, Jim Koretsky,
No.
Joni Brinkman,
Yes.
DeAndre Poole,
Yes.
Greg Wise,
No.
Marcy Woodward,
Yes.
Sarah Baxter,
Yes.
Joelle Flores, Glenn Spiritus,
Yes.
Jeff Hamara,
Yes.
Michael Napoleon,
Yes.
Christy Fox,
No.
Shalonda Warren,
No.
Maria Marino. Yes. Chelsea Reed.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, we have 4 noes, 13 yeses, motion passes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your help today, Ruth. Good job, by the way. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item C, the motion to endorse fiscal year 2025 to 2030 DTWP, or draft tentative work program. We're going to have Andrew, our own Deputy Director of Programs, present on this item. And congratulations on your wedding, sir.
Thank you. Just got married. I appreciate it. Went to Japan when we were, finalizing the LRTP, so probably not the best time to leave for that, but thank you for passing that document. So this next item for action today is a draft tentative work program. And so we've had a little bit of discussion a little bit with the LRTP and then how that forms into the list of priority products and then the draft tentative work program. I'm going to give a little bit of a highlight, and then we're going to call up again Secretary Steve Braun with District 4. He also has staff who's going to have a few other highlights for you for FDOT. And then we also have Turnpike staff here. So we're going to run through these 3 presentations, and then we'll take questions at the end. So how we get to this part of the process, again, there was a little discussion during the LTP on this. So it all originates with product development that comes out of the long range transportation plan. So the one that you're seeing for the draft tentative work program today is really based on the 2045 LRTP. And so with that, we have products that are in the adopted LRTP as line items. There's also specific programs that we administer annually, such as the Transportation Alternatives Program, which we have locals apply for. Those are all vetted products that we look at from the LRTP and those annual call for products early on last year, heading into spring of 2024. And with that, we vet the products for their feasibility, make sure they have a good cost assessment, that they're locally supported by the surrounding municipalities and communities. Those are then ranked and put into the list of priority projects. And so that 5-year list of priority projects includes those major projects, our transportation alternatives, and it also includes that shared use network of trails, which is a statewide program. That list is then given to the FDOT, and they start building their draft tentative work program, which you're seeing today. So they're updating their cost estimates for all the products in the work program. They're updating their revenues for the next 5 years, their forecast on that. They're balancing that work program, and they're adding in the new priorities we have on our list, along with other statewide priorities. That list is then seen by you all today for your endorsement or any modifications to that. They then draft the final work program off that at the statewide level, and that's what serves as our basis for the Transportation Improvement Program, which for this version for fiscal year 26 through 30 will go active in July of next year. So what's in this list? Again, this focuses on federal and state funding, and it's the list of products by phase and funding source. Right now, we're in current fiscal year 2025. This is going to cover 26 through 30. Oftentimes you'll hear the term, the new fifth year. That's always the outer year of the new work program. So a lot of the items, products that are in the work program currently move forward, and then most of the money that's available is the new outer year. So typically you'll see a lot of products come in the new outer year. And this gets a little bit more in detail with sort of how that works out and why they're typically in the outer year. So there's sort of multiple steps when it comes to a project, getting from concept all the way to implementation, construction. It may start from planning phase, and then it has to be programmed. Then it might go more in detail to a product development environmental study. That could take a few years. And then you have design, right-of-way, construction. So larger scale projects such as State Road 7 went through all of these phases to get to where it is today. And so you'll always hear this terminology from FDOT called maintain work program stability. So I'm sure Secretary Brown will say it, and so will Jessica Rubio after that. They're always talking about maintaining the work program stability. So these are large scale projects, and there's a production timeline for all of these going through a lot of different phases. So they're trying to keep the products programmed and on their production schedule year in and year out. So they're assessing the cost estimates, ensuring that they can meet deadlines, and then they're trying to incorporate the new priorities after that. So what we're seeing from our staff analysis of the draft tentative work program, very similar to prior years, you're going to see a huge investment still in the strategic intermodal system. Those are roadway capacity projects, both on the I-95 with interchanges, and then also a huge investment by the Turnpike with Turnpike funds on the Turnpike. So that's a huge investment, over $1 billion in the next 5 years on the Turnpike. They'll get a little more into those details. But overall, what we're seeing, $3.2 billion over the next 5 years in federal and state funding for Palm Beach County. It's 280 projects. And then what that means for TPA priorities. So there's ones on the list of priority projects that you adopted previously. There's $442 million towards those priorities in this draft tentative work program. Large portion of that has been mentioned, State Road 7, roadway capacity project, then also Atlantic Ave widening. Those two are fully funded in the work program. Atlantic Ave actually is going to construction here soon for certain portions. Those also include pedestrian bicycle facilities on those facilities. And then after that, a lot of our scoring is geared towards safety, moving people in different ways, different types of mobility. So complete streets, $82 million. Signals and intersections, a lot of products for road for both Palm Beach County traffic engineering and Boca Raton are funded in there, $53 million. We continuously receive requests from both Tri-Rail and Palm Tran when it comes to new vehicles, and then also transit shelters. There's $32 million towards that. And then round it out with other projects, lighting and safety, $4 million on smaller scale projects. So that's all I have for you. Again, we'll take questions at the end. I'm going to call up the district secretary now. He's going to go through some highlights for both their initiatives. Oh, he's right here. Okay. Their initiatives and what's happening in Palm Beach County.
Snuck up behind you. Good morning again, Steve Braun, District 4 Secretary. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Just over a year and a half really in this position. I presented last year to you guys. I've spent a lot of time with you over the years, various roles. I'm going to spend probably not even any time really just introducing myself. For those of you that don't know me, reach out to me. We can kind of discuss some of your initiatives and our vision. I am going to spend some time really just talking more general DOT. I am proud to lead DOT. I want to at least acknowledge the DOT folks that are here today. I'm not going to necessarily call them all by name, but if you guys can just stand up. For a lot of them, this is their Super Bowl, right? They put together the work program, balance it, and get through kind of what seems to be an infant cycle every year. We've got representatives here from our Palm Beach Operations Center, Design Office, Planning and Environmental Management Office, Modal Office, and then the work program management team. We also have Pierre here from the Turnpike, I think, for any discussions on that Turnpike project work program. Thank you, guys, and thank you for their collaboration and the TPA staff in their collaboration with the department, not only to put this program together, but really just to be part of just delivering these important projects to this region. So really a lot of robust discussion on those earlier agenda items. I think I heard quality of life several times. And that's really part of our mission statement too, right? Safe transportation network, move people and goods, because we all know, right, transportation does impact the quality of life of our communities. It's right behind you there too, connecting communities. It's in our mission statement too. So I think our collaboration with the TPA, with you all as a board, goes a long way when our mission and your visions align as well. So I do appreciate the partnership and the collaboration. How do we get to that mission? Some of you have seen this. This is what we call the DOT compass. At the center of the compass is communities, because I think we all know, and as I just mentioned, that's really should be the center of what we're doing, improving their quality of life, their safety, their transportation network. And these are really areas that we use to guide that mission, guide our projects, focus areas that I've really seen resonate with our communities. Safety, for sure. Resiliency, right? We're hearing more and more about the resiliency of our infrastructure. How do we respond in emergency events? How do we become more resilient, not only as a community, but as a transportation infrastructure network? Supply chain, you've heard me say this before, 5 years ago, probably wasn't a household term to anyone outside of this room or this circle. I think everyone knows the importance of transportation on our supply chain and our economic development. Technology, just mentioned earlier, looking for those opportunities really to utilize technology to better manage our transportation network, use technology really to make better decisions. So there's a big emphasis on that as well. And then workforce development. Our work program in District 4 for the 5 years, really between $5 and $6 billion. We needed a committed workforce to get into this industry as transportation professionals to understand and play a role in delivering those projects. We'll be presenting the work program in a bit. $1.4 billion over the 5 years being invested here through this work program in Palm Beach County. So just for the sake of time, I'm really not going to get into too much detail here. Just a little bit more on those compass elements, right? Target zero, we appreciate the partnership with the TPA and a lot of the municipalities that are also committed to safety first, right? Getting to that target of zero fatalities or serious injuries. A lot of that takes the engineering, but also a lot on the education and enforcement as well. So I think any collaboration opportunities we have to improve safety from, again, designing safer transportation facilities to ensuring that people are safe as they travel through work zones. Resiliency, we have a state resiliency action plan, but a lot of the traction we're seeing with resiliency improvements is through the collaboration with municipalities, where perhaps a municipality has a vision for a resiliency project and then tying that in with the transportation project as well. So we've seen some examples of that over recent years. We do have at the district a resiliency action team work group representing multiple disciplines, because it's not really just it's drainage issues, it's maintenance, it's design, it's really how do we make our network a lot more resilient and respond in times of action. I touched on supply chain, really a lot of coordination beyond just the roadway network with our rail partners, airports, seaports, a big stakeholder and a big partner in delivering transportation projects. So big investments in those areas as well. Technology, you know, we've seen it over recent years, a lot more emphasis on we love our acronyms, TSM&O, Transportation System Management and Operations. Looking for those opportunities where we can leverage technology to better manage the existing infrastructure. We're in conversations about pilot projects, coordination with Palm Beach County on looking for those opportunities. Smart work zones, smart corridors. I'll touch on in a little bit wrong way driving, really getting real-time information out there using technology. And the last one on there, big buzzword, artificial intelligence. I put on there really just to share that DOT as a state agency, one of the first state agencies and one of the first DOTs nationally, if not the first, to adopt an AI policy. Why? Because it was important for us to at least look what was out there, empower industry to say, hey, bring us an AI that can help us process data more effectively, make better decisions, be more efficient and effective, but also put some guardrails on that to understand we still need the engineers, the planners, and so forth to ground truth that. So we landed somewhere in the middle, but it is important to note, as a government agency, we are looking to say, yeah, are there things that can help? Because that is just such an evolving area of the technology universe. It's important to really understand and embrace that. Workforce development, I'll just touch on briefly because I think we're seeing it across the industry. Just a critical need to bring people into this profession, right? Not only the engineers, right? It's the boots on the ground people getting into construction industry to implement these transportation improvements from planners, environmental specialists, financial people that can understand what it takes to deliver our program. And when I say our program, collectively. So we're doing a lot at the district as far as career development, leadership programs, mentoring programs, formal training, but then really just looking for opportunities even to interact with high school students. We had Palm Beach County schools represented at a construction career day event between the southern part of the state. Over 2,000 high school students came to an event where they had hands-on interaction with transportation industry. So it's important, again, similar call to action on safety. Any of you that are doing outreach in STEM programs, getting people interested in these type of professions, we're happy to collaborate and partner on that too. So again, for me, I'm proud of really, as I present really the next part of the presentation, and you should be too, right? As a transportation planning body, I've been around and seen the history of some of these projects. I think for you, you should be proud really of seeing some of these projects that I'm going to highlight that are either completed or under construction. Because as we just discussed or heard in the previous agenda items, a lot of these projects are in that pipeline for a long time. So I want you all to reflect really as I go through some of these projects and really appreciate how we got here. Sometimes maybe a little bit of a rocky road, but at the end of the day, these projects are special, and every project, again, resonates with those communities, big or small, as far as the projects goes. I-95 Divergent Diamond Interchange, the DDI opened last April, but that project really has since then been nominated and received several awards. I wanted to really extend my appreciation to the City of Boca Raton, FAU, the other stakeholders involved. This was the first Divergent Diamond in District 4. Driver expectancy was different once we first opened it. I think we made some adjustments and really put a communication plan together with the local stakeholders as partners to get that message out. And this project has, I believe, been successful once we kind of got people used to this configuration. So proud of that project. Southern Boulevard Bridge, I talk about resiliency, right? This was a bridge replacement project. You look at that photo, to me, it kind of looks like a postcard as an engineer, right? Beautiful bridge, beautiful area, completed in April of 2024. So I appreciate everyone involved in delivering that project. So major projects, for sure. Safety initiatives, we have statewide safety initiatives that come through central office. We also identify certain initiatives. So here's an example where multiple locations, we implemented these rumble strips and also replaced the pavement markings on the outside shoulder because we had identified in our statewide strategic highway safety plan that run off the road lane departure crashes were one of those paramount areas of concern. So this really provides those audible and vibratory warnings to motorists as they potentially are veering off the roadway. So again, look for these type of projects moving forward where we target a specific initiative and then multiple locations to implement those. Oh, skip one. So here's an example, advanced wrong way driving safety improvements, multiple interchanges in Palm Beach County under construction. And what you'll see here is warning signs, beacons that flash if someone's going the wrong way. And the critical element of this is also the technology element, a connection from that interchange to our traffic management center, where, sincerely, I'll share this. I've received alerts in real time, as well as emergency responders, where our traffic management center, through this wrong way driving detection, sees a wrong way driver, makes that observation, and within seconds, they're in contact with FHP as responding, truly mitigating what in most cases in a wrong way driving incident is critical or fatal. So again, leveraging that technology and the message into the public and looking again on these initiatives that are far reaching beyond one specific location, but one specific focus area at least. State Road 80 lighting, I know this project's been around for a while. I know you've received updates from our project management team. Project actually went to construction in spring of 2024. Mayor Wilson, I know you've shared your sentiment on this. The project is under construction. A lot of the work is being underground now, laying the utility lines and the power to facilitate this lighting. This project, as we all know, came from community feedback, which is important. We expect by this time next year, about 40% of the lighting should be functional and moving forward. Again, this project is being actually delivered by FPNL because of obviously the power supply needed for it. And I know there were some delays, understandably, with FPNL through this hurricane season, but we're continuing to working to coordinate with them on delivering this project. US 1 Jupiter Bridge, Mayor Koretsky, I appreciate the comments at the introduction of this meeting. Important project, obviously. The key to this really, resiliency, safety, but the relationship with the community, really, and I appreciate the commentary earlier on the outreach we've been doing in partnership with the town. You know, everything from our social media to something as simple as regularly scheduled coffee with the construction team at a local level. That goes a long way in these type of projects. So I think as we move forward with similar type projects in the future, looking for those opportunities with each of your municipalities is important. The other element of this technology, right? We are actively managing the detour route using technology to really just make that full detour you know, more palatable. And I'll say palatable because we know that there's a lot of patience that goes into navigating this type of project. But when you look at that photo, which is actually pretty dated because recently we were actually placing beams, so it's progressed a lot more than what you're seeing there. The coordination on this goes back, I'll say, close to a decade probably, on the coordination with the town on the merits of a full closure versus typically you build half the bridge, you maintain traffic on the other. We were able to at least go in there, close the bridge entirely, demolish it, and then build the new one without necessarily compromising the safety of the motorists, pedestrians going over a work zone, and more effectively just channel the resources to that full reconstruction. So we expect in the coming month or months, you know, really opening those lanes to traffic in the one direction, in both directions on the one side of the bridge. So again, appreciate the relationship on the communication and outreach on that project. Similar opportunity here on the State Road 710 B line, where this project really came through the strategic intermodal system, adding capacity lanes on State Road 710. But obviously a lot of community engagement on this. As this project progresses, we're looking to have similar opportunities at a local level, inform the local community of major traffic shifts and so forth. But that's actively on construction. Again, 4 to 6 lane widening on B line on State Road 710. But also a first in our district, what's called a continuous flow intersection, keeping the intersection at North Lake at grade with an innovative approach to moving the traffic there. So this project really presented that unique opportunity as far as the configuration to implement that type of configuration at the intersection. It includes a lot of other improvements, but the main thing here, the capacity at not only the intersection, but also along State Road 710. I think it was touched on earlier, just communicating with our stakeholders. I believe we're putting a lot more messaging out there, telling our story on these projects, whether it's the ramp metering I mentioned, the rumble strips, mid-block pedestrian crossing, telling our story, and when I say our collaborative story here, some of these projects have a long history and vision from this board, and others really come through us, but it's important for us to message to our communities the success of these projects as they're coming forward. But also, if we're going through a major traffic shift or so forth, I think the more we can communicate that, the more people understand the benefits of the long-term benefits of these projects. Atlantic Avenue, this project we've executed the contract for the contractor. We're going to start construction after New Year. As most of you recall, this was a high priority for the TPA. We were able to last year actually advance that eastern segment. So really we'll see a seamless construction from State Road 7 to the Turnpike on this project, again, widening Atlantic Avenue. What you see in the top left, again, came from a lot of discussions through this group on looking on a new type of facility with those additional lanes on a separated bike lane. So this is the first of this type of configuration on the state highway system. This is a system called the Zipper, I believe, where it at least provides some of that separation on the bicycle lane. So this is the pilot project, but with any pilot, right, we'll look at it with kind of open eyes and see kind of how this operates, how the maintenance of these items go. We've seen these on lower speed type corridors through a downtown, but we thought this was an important project to really look at that as an opportunity as well. So looking forward to that construction. Similar on, just staying with the Atlantic Avenue theme, our work program, we were able to at least maintain the funding for the construction of these two segments in fiscal year 29. So big investment there on the next segments of Atlantic Avenue. State Road 7 extension, probably don't need to get into everything Scott Peterson mentioned earlier. I will share, just for emphasis, right, the funding there that is in this work program for fiscal year 28 and 29. And to Mayor Wilson's point earlier, and a lot of the discussion earlier, we are in the litigation, so I won't get into too much, but we, after previous trials, previous interaction with the city, we really did sharpen the pencil, looked at ways to re-engineer the drainage system, the typical section, opportunities really to address some of the concerns we were hearing from the city. So a couple of years ago, we presented in this board what some of those changes were. I just want this board to be reassured, right? This obviously continues to be a TPA priority, therefore it's a priority for the department. So we'll continue to work through the litigation, fund the construction, but I can confidently say this, we've really taken to heart the comments we've received from the community, the stakeholders, and the resource agencies. We have a very robust mitigation plan on this project and have addressed, in my opinion, a lot of the concerns that we've heard from the community over the years. I-95 managed lanes, project development environment study, really just seeing that continuation of that managed lanes network that's been successful in Miami-Dade, Broward, and then working up north. And again, this is a PD&E study at this point. So I encourage all of you just to look at this and get engaged in that project as we start doing more outreach on that. 36th Street, I just wanted to share this really just for some context. So I get measured every year as well as, and therefore the district, on our performance plan as far as what we call our letting plan. Did we meet the schedules of all the projects we committed to go to construction in a particular year? In this particular case, we were working on an off-system project, 36th Street, bike lane and sidewalk improvements. And then in coordination with the city of West Palm Beach, we were approached to actually defer that project. We had plans ready to go to construction. The city approached us really to look at widening that bridge and seeing if there was an opportunity to provide less burden to the community through back-to-back construction projects. So we really consolidated those projects, but it required me to kind of get a ding on my performance review saying we didn't meet this letting, but it was the right thing to do for that community. We said, you know, instead of impacting them twice, do the bike lanes and sidewalk, and then the city come back and do the bridge, it made sense really just to join those projects. So we're looking forward to delivering that. But it was deferred, but I think it's a better decision for everyone involved moving forward. So that deferral, a lot of times has a negative connotation, but in this case, I think it was the right thing to do. Okeechobee Boulevard, State Road 7, the corridor feasibility study. TPA initiated some initial studies on this. We have received that scope. We're coordinating closely now. We're developing the scope of services to hire a designer or a consultant, really just to do that next step, looking at providing transit options on Okeechobee Boulevard and State Road 7. So I'll maybe just share a couple of thoughts here briefly on emergency response and recovery. As you see, and as you all know, major storm season this past year. I just want to share for context for you, really our role, even in District 4, that we play in the preparation, right, with municipalities, emergency operations centers, to make sure that the network is safe as the storm's advancing. But I want to share really the response and recovery efforts. So storm comes through, we make sure our network is shored up, and then we often are then asked to deploy to other areas once we're safe and our network's secure. For Debbie and Helene, we knew we were out of harm's way. We actually deployed crews to sister districts on the Panhandle, and we had crews deployed there to respond for Debbie and Helene. As a matter of fact, folks from our Palm Beach Operations Center, under the leadership of John Madison there, went actually to North Carolina to support the Asheville area in their Helene recovery efforts, because we have a lot of experience supporting other districts, therefore let's support in other states. So that's a story I wanted to share because of the commitment the department has made across the state in our response and recovery efforts. Hurricane Milton, we know there were tornadoes that touched down here in Palm Beach County and in the Treasure Coast. We responded to those. We have 3 operation centers, Broward and Palm Beach. They really went up and helped Treasure Coast with some of the significant tornado impacts up in Vero and Fort Pierce. So again, I wanted to express my appreciation to our emergency responders out there, and understanding that DOT plays a key role in that. Often we're the first ones on there clearing the route for the responders, for the utility companies. And I just want to take a moment really just to share that, because I think sometimes that's a little bit of the untold story. For Milton, after we completed our response efforts in Treasure Coast, we sent crews over to help District 7 in the Tampa area as well. So the real reason we're here, right, the draft tentative work program. So Jessica Rubio, our district program management administrator, is going to go through a couple of key points here. Andrew, as always, did a phenomenal job really talking about the work program process and really spoke about that pipeline that gets us to this point. But I thought, since I'm having FaceTime with you guys today, I'd get into some of those previous slides. So I appreciate the opportunity and good seeing all of you.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, board members. It's a pleasure to be here to go through some of the items regarding the work program. So I thought it was good to share with you how the process is. Andrew mentioned the process of the TIP, but this is the process that takes care in the work program unit. So we can start from July through October. This is when we start to prepare the development of the draft tentative work program in coordination with the TPA, and we balance the draft tentative work program to the allocations we receive. That happens from July through October. This is what we call a longer cycle because the legislature does not meet until March 4th. From November through December, we present the draft tentative work program to the various committees, that being the technical advisory committees, the board, MPO board committee, TPA committees, like it is the case today. In December, we have the public hearing. In this case, the public hearing was conducted on December 10th in the District 4 headquarters. January through February, Central Office DOT compiles the district plans, and they create the statewide tentative work program. They submit it to the governor, the legislature, the Florida Transportation Commission, and the Department of Economic Opportunity. In March, the Florida Transportation Committee conducts a statewide public hearing on the tentative work program. And as I say, the legislature convenes in March. July 1st, after the appropriations are approved by the state legislature and the governor, the 5-year work program is approved by the FDOT secretary. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sure. Very good. So let me skip through. Okay, very good. So you will have this PowerPoint, at your leisure. If you have any questions, you can always contact me. But everything in red, in the red box means new funding. So these are like, your major projects in order priority. 17 mean the year you were prioritized. So we were able to fund few construction projects in fiscal year 2030. That's the new fifth year. However, like in the case of 19-1, we were able to advance a priority to fiscal year 25. Next, we have additional projects, Atlantic, signal upgrades in various cities, fiscal year 2030 for funding on this. Okay, signal upgrades, more signal upgrades in Boca. And it's important to highlight, it's been a topic today, Indian Town at Central Boulevard, coordination with the TPA, we were able to advance the PD&E from fiscal year 29 to fiscal year 26, is about $3.3 million. Okay, we have various local initiatives with City of Boca Raton, West Palm Beach. We have SFRTA also funding advance to fiscal year 25. That is a highlight. Another LAP agreements with in different areas of Palm Beach County and the City of Wellington. Under the Transportation Alternative Program, we have other priorities program in fiscal year 28 with additional LAP agreements with City of West Palm Beach and Boca Raton. Also, Palm Tran was awarded a federal earmark, so we programmed a bus shelter expansion in fiscal year 26 for $500,000. And we added a freight project on I-95 and Congress Avenue, design in fiscal year 27, and construction and CI in fiscal year 2030. And here's an overview of all the projects program in the county. And again, we still are open for comments. There is a QR code if you would like to provide comments on the work program. And our safety message, every bicyclist and pedestrian is important to someone. Let's get everybody home. And thank you. With that, I will like to invite James Brown from the Turnpike.
Good afternoon. At this point, it's James Brown. I am the TPA's liaison to Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. For this cycle of the work program, fiscal years 26 through fiscal year 30, we are investing $1.3 billion in major projects here in Palm Beach County. With regard to prioritizing our projects, so we do go through a process. Each project has to have a true transportation need. We take into account economic and environmental feasibility. But at the end of the day, the stakeholder coordination is of most importance to us when we are pursuing the project. Did want to point out our Turnpike Widening Infrastructure Initiative. You may travel the Turnpike and see the billboards. We are investing $10 billion over the next 5 years to add capacity to the Turnpike. We have over 500 miles of toll facilities here in the state of Florida. A little over 300 are the Turnpike main line. So for our main line initiative, we're going to widen to a minimum of 6 travel lanes. We're going to enhance the connectivity at our interchanges with our local roadway network, improve signage, improve roadway markings to accommodate the future of autonomous vehicles. Just wanted to point that out. And in Palm Beach County, we have 45 miles of Turnpike facility. We provided a summary. It may be in your packets. Just wanted to provide a quick overview. The first 2 pages of that summary provide you an overview of what's currently in process, what's either under construction or currently finished. Your Palm Beach County projects would start on page 10, and those are the major projects which have construction funding allocated. And then at the back of the summary, page 1920, those are any additional projects that received any other phase funding such as PD&E or design. For Palm Beach County, you'll see a lot of this is our widening segments. Again, Palm Beach County is up to bat to receive the construction funding to widen the facility through the county. We're going to be widening segments north of Glades Roads up to Atlantic Avenue, 6 to 8 lanes, drainage improvements from Atlantic to Boynton. And at our West Palm Beach Service Plaza, which is undergoing some enhancements at the point. We're improving some parking facility there, drainage facilities, et cetera. You'll see that segment from West Palm Beach Service Plaza, the southern, which is going to be starting in this fiscal year with construction to widen that segment 4 to 8 lanes. And the remaining segments, they go north from there. So southern to Okeechobee, Okeechobee to Beeline, Beeline to PGA. And then there's a section PGA Boulevard to Jupiter. That is new to this cycle of the work program, allocating over $300 million for improvements for that segment. These are the additional projects which you would find in the back of the summary, additional $21 million. I will point out, we do have a PD&E study, which is going to start in fiscal year 26 to look at adding a new turnpike interchange at Hypoluxo Road. And with that, I'll turn it over to questions.
We have 2 cards up. We have Mayor Wilson and then Mayor Koretsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know I want to make this real quick. I know you're depending on membership here. Going back to State Road 80, is it possible we can get your blessing, Madam Chair, and to our CEO to have a more detailed update on the project itself? It don't have to come before this committee, but at least to the Glades community about what's going on with FPL. Is that possible? Will you support that? The community out there have been raving. They want it to happen. And I know you guys are getting it done. I'm at the table. You guys are at the table. But I think the community just need to get an update from FPL on what they're actually doing. Is that possible, number one?
Has FDOT come to your council meeting?
Yes, they come, but detail about this. The
Okay,
lighting,
great.
so.
Mr. Braun, do you mind answering?
Yeah, on the State Road 80 lighting project.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. We could come to a council meeting. We could have a town hall. We actually have our project manager here. He can talk to you afterwards, give you the update, and then we could do something.
Thank you.
Where he can set up something to come.
And the second question, what's the backup plan? I know weather is always going to be an issue with the storms. What's the backup plan if need be, if the storms and the weather continue to be an issue where this project has been delayed? Is there a backup plan? Yeah.
So I'm not aware of a backup plan. I'm not.
Yeah.
So we can touch base afterwards. I do know we're pushing to at least get the majority or close to it done by, I think, next October or November.
Now, you indicated 40% by
Yeah.
next year, and the delay is because of the weather. So is there an issue there of something we can think outside the box?
We'll continue to have conversations with FPNL regarding that.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yes. Hi.
Just a quick question. I had heard from a state senator that they had prioritized a new priority with funding or taken funding away for this new, and it was for agricultural roads. Is that true? And could you explain what that would be? Because I just think in terms of our Western communities, wouldn't want to miss the opportunity that there's now a new funding amount and priority. Can you address that? Or do you know about it?
I do. They count in a quorum there, I think. I'll take as part of the question. So last legislative session, to my understanding, there was legislation that allowed a program, the small county outreach program, to be utilized for those type of agricultural type projects. It did not come with a funding source at the time. There's a program, but it didn't necessarily come with additional funding.
Okay, yeah, which is probably typical from legislature. I just wanted to ask, because this draft 5-year plan, every time it gets updated, it's a chance to put new projects in, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Napoleon.
Drucker, second.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone who presented. We appreciate the Super Bowl coming here for that. Let's see. So do we need to do a roll call vote in order to pass this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We had our quorum, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Great information, and we appreciate everyone staying. It's been about a year and a half since we went over 11:30 for our voting. So, but I think today was really important. We're going to move on to our information items now. So we'll be starting with South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, or SFRTA, the Transit Development Plan. So we're going to hear, we're going to get an update on your 10-year transit development plan. Good morning.
Good morning. I'll do this quick. I know we lost half of the room, but this is just an info item. So there we go. Good morning, board. My name is Jessica Vargas Astaiza. I'm a transportation planning manager for the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority. We are here today to present to you the major update to our transit development plan. It's to provide you an overview of the process, pretty much what is the requirements, what are the major components, and then the project schedule. But most importantly, we want to hear your input, get your input, and hopefully then that way it will be incorporated into the plan and help us shape our vision for the next 10 years. Quickly, what is the TDP? It's a requirement for those transit agencies who are going to be eligible for state block grant funding. It's a vision for 10 years, and it's updated every 5 years as a major update, but then you report on the progress of that plan every year. So it's a living document that is constantly being updated. It is very prescriptive, what it requires, and in this summer, the rule was updated and new requirements were added. And one of them was more coordination with the MPOs, which the SFRTA continuously do, but now it needs to be more documented in the document. Another emphasis is more on the land use regulations. It's an assessment on the transit corridor. So I'll get a little bit to that later. Next is also goals and objectives. It's usually things that are developed through this process, but our agency went through a strategic plan and was adopted. So those goals are going to be incorporated into the plan. Public outreach is another main item for the TDP process. And one of the first tasks is to prepare a public involvement plan, which was approved by FDOT. We created a branding for the TDP. You see it there, On Track for Excellence. We have our website. We did intercept surveys on our key ridership stations, collecting the thoughts of our riders for the TDP, as well as we have the survey available online. And we are continue to coordinate with our stakeholders. We met already with the regional workforce boards. We have been presenting to the MPOs as this one, and with our transit agencies and RPCs through our technical advisory committee. Quickly, this is just an overview of the profile of the region. It's part of the baseline conditions presented in the TDP. Just a quick snapshot, and you can notice here the age in the region, but notice that 2% take public transportation for work, and that's one that we want to obviously make an impact with transit. On commute patterns, this is interesting for Palm Beach County. Of the 805,000 employees of the county, about half of them reside and work within the county. However, there are 218 residents outside the county that commute into Palm Beach County, with 192 that reside here and commute outside. So Tri-Rail, which is the main commuter rail service that SFRTA operates, we want to capture this market, this flow of travel. The document also, it's going to go through all the existing transit facilities in the region, in particularly detailed overview of a Tri-Rail service, as well as the other transit agency, transit services, and transportation providers in the service area that connect to our Tri-Rail. As I mentioned, the key component is this land use multimodal review that is new for the TDP rule. It's going to be an opportunity for the document to show what efforts the agency is doing in order to encourage better land use development regulations for joint development or transit-oriented development. And in that front, SFRTA has had a policy on TOD since 2017. We've had a resolution from the board to encourage cities and counties to encourage that type of land development regulations. And we currently have an RFP that was published, a developer was selected, and we have a site plan for TOD currently on review for the Boca Raton station, with some initial coordination ongoing now for Boynton Beach, Cypress Creek, and our Metro Rail transfer stations, which are the stations where we, SFRTA, own property and have some control for that type of development. And we continue to foster multimodal connectivity with our Ride Partner service, which is our first last mile program. We offer bicycle lockers at the stations. We have bicycle cars in most of our trains, and we are improving the pedestrian access and amenities around the station. Finally, the plan is going to include the 10-year implementation plan, which is going to list not only the funded improvements and projects, but also unfunded. So it's a unconstrained plan, and we are going to build it from some of the efforts we already have completed, like the strategic plan, the fleet management plan, our 10-year capital plan, and our rail fleet. Plus, it's, as the rule requests, in close coordination with the MPOs, it's going to be consistent with the LRTPs just adopted. And finally, it's an opportunity for the agency to then speak about and communicate its most recent accomplishments. And we're very proud of our extension and service into downtown Miami. It's going to be a year this next month. That's now our 19th station. We're co-located with Brightline in downtown Miami. And this summer, we started offering an express train in addition to our regular service on the main line with direct service into Miami Central, one train in the morning, one in the afternoon, stopping West Palm, Boca, Fort Lauderdale Airport Station, Metro Rail, and saving over 30 minutes from what the regular commute would be. So this is just a quick overview of our next steps. We're planning to have a draft by end of next month. We'll go to our technical advisory committee, then to our board for approval. Plus, then in order to submit to the FDOT, because the new date for the TDPs are now March 1st. So last but not least, I left some info sheets in front of you for you to take our survey, share this information with your constituents. You can take the survey now, but certainly I'm here to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you so much for your time.
Oops.
No,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Can you give us an update on the negotiation for using the tracks to go north?
No, sir. Unfortunately, that's not on my pay grade. Unfortunately, no. My understanding is that I believe it was earlier mentioned, it's going to be now an effort to continue the planning effort for the coastal link. But other than that, I unfortunately don't have. But I will get the information and make sure to share it with staff so you can be informed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. All right, go ahead, Valerie. Thank you. Sorry about that.
We can follow up and probably do an update on that. And I just wanted to go for the record to say thank you so much for everyone who stayed this long. I know this meeting went long. Thank you to SFRTA for your presentation. We look forward to even more coordination together. And also just to the FDOT team, we got lucky if we got actually Broward MPO wanted to have Steve Braun today and they got someone else. So we appreciate the entire team, all the effort that goes into it. And I think you have a new term for the war room, but like putting all this stuff together and all these requests, we really appreciate you being here and everyone's time today. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes.
I'm sorry. And thank you so much to TPA staff. I know this has been a huge, heavy lift. We lost someone during the process too. But it's been a big effort. So thank you everyone for your collaboration and work on this.
Absolutely. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to get all these presentations together. And I do want to mention for Action item C, the fiscal year 26 to 30 DTWP. I neglected to ask if there were any public comments, but there were none. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record. All right. Again, thank you to everyone who's presented. Are there any other partner agencies that are presenting today or care to do so? All right. So with that, we have no further public comments or anything, Ruth, at all?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, we have a few administrative items as we discussed and shared before. Next meeting will be February 20th, 2025, and
We do have, just for clarification, wanted to confirm for the record, the vote on draft of work program. If you, Commissioner Fox wanted to just confirm that we got on the record that she voted no.
Correct. We have
Yes.
that you voted no. Yes.
Okay.
all right, excellent. Again, thank you all so much for your confidence in myself and Mayor Marino going forward this year. I am proud that in the last year and a half, this is the first time we ever went past 11:30 for our action items. We'll take that, especially, with the amount of public interaction, which we appreciate, all of the hard work that came from everyone who presented today, all of the hard work from staff, especially for the long-range transportation plan, which is a huge lift every 5 years. We appreciate everybody, and most of all, happy holidays from our entire board. With that, we are adjourned.